Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Lorekeeper, the series where we dive into the histories of the Ether and Dark Ether storylines. In this video, we'll be discussing Russia's Ascension Group. After the collapse of Group 935 in 1945, its scientists, technology, and research were split amongst the American and Soviet governments respectively, due to a deal struck with Dr. Richthofen sometime prior. An American spy who was sent to infiltrate 935, Dr. Harvey Yena, was taken in on Russia's behalf, perhaps intentionally as to provide information back home. Dr. Yena was amongst the group of founders that created the Ascension Group on January 26, 1946. It was intended to further study on Element 115 and provide the Soviets an advantage on their race to the moon, amongst other things. By 1955, Dr. Yuri Zavoysky and Dr. Anton Gersh joined the group, with Dr. Gersh becoming known as a pseudo-leader to a majority of the organization. Sometime after Dr. Gersh and Dr. Zavoysky joined the organization, Ascension Group received a transmission from Group 935's now abandoned Siberian facility, which Dr. Yena was previously stationed at prior to the organization's collapse. The voice on the other side is offering a device known as the Agarthan device in exchange for his rescue. All he needs is the elemental shard and blood from an elder god. Dr. Yena was already familiar with the device's existence, as Dr. Richthofen mentioned it back to him in the 1940s. A genie in a bottle, he would call it, believing if they acquire the device, they can defeat the United States in their race to Griffin Station. So, Yena and the team are sent out to the ocean to find the corpse of an Apothecon elder god who lay to rest at the bottom of the sea. Massive in size, the team procured its blood and returned to their headquarters, directly disobeying the transmission's requests to bring the blood to him immediately. When he returned, he noted how the Americans were hot on their tail. Dr. Gersh becomes suspicious of a mole within Ascension. What they come to find is the blood itself is sentient, perhaps being the source behind the creature's motor functions. It wasn't a brain operating the creature, no. Instead, it was the blood itself. Dr. Gersh specifically states that the blood itself is a multi-celled organism, a hive mind of sorts. Ascension Group would continue to disobey the voice's warnings and proceed to perform further experiments with the blood. One of such experiments involved injecting some of the blood inside of their primate test subjects before launching them into space in hopes that it will protect the monkeys in their ascension. No pun intended. What Dr. Yena comes to find is the blood itself is beginning to react to their frequent experiments, seeming agitated, aggressive even. Meanwhile, back at the Ascension Group HQ, several projects and inventions were developed. Project Thunder was the creation of their very own wonder weapon, known as the Thunder Gun, a weapon that released extremely powerful gusts of wind, ultimately launching those in its range. An icy variant called the Tundra Gun was later created. This version of the weapon launched snowballs at its intended targets, being surprisingly lethal. Unlike the Thunder Gun, the Tundra Gun was very much capable of causing harm to the one using it. When pack-a-punched, the two weapons became known as the Zeus Cannon and Boris Blizzard. Project Mercury was a device internally referred to as the Gersh device. Said device would create a miniature black hole, absorbing anyone or anything into it if it was in proximity of its gravitational pull. Its intended purpose was to be their own portable matter transference device. Its teleportation capabilities can be seen when someone dolphin dives or slides into the rift, sending them elsewhere in the map. And amongst their projects, Ascension Group had created two new perks using the research they acquired from Group 935, introducing to the world PhD Flopper and Stamina. The ironic downfall of a group with Ascension in their name was soon to follow, as Dr. Yuri Zavoysky was transferred into rocket research, a demotion that affected Zavoysky personally. Upon this transferal, Zavoysky began to notice children's toys around the Cosmodrome, appearing after he had read Richthofen's diary, another item that they acquired from the split. A voice entered his mind, Samantha's voice, and she would mentally torture Zavoysky through the coming months, persuading him to continue work on the Gersh device in secret, despite the orders he had been given. Dr. Gersh had noticed Dr. Zavoysky's declining mental state and increased aggression toward fellow staff. He considered having Zavoysky removed from Ascension Group entirely, but before such a decision could even be made, Zavoysky approached Gersh, informing him that he had completed the Gersh device. Now fully corrupted by Samantha's influence, under her orders, he activates the device, sucking Gersh into the ether, where he is tortured by Samantha. Yuri immediately feels regret of his actions, but his guilt is cut short as Samantha teleports him to the Pentagon. Upon Zavoysky's departure and an undead outbreak at the Cosmodrome facility, Ultimus, who are in a lunar lander, land in the facility. Immediately upon setting foot in the base, Dr. Gersh's voice calls out for help from within the ether. Not out of the kindness of his heart, Richthofen, alongside the rest of Ultimus, agreed to help Dr. Gersh, performing a series of tasks that managed to sever him from Samantha's grasp, bringing him to his reality once more. Unfortunately for Dr. Gersh, however, his physical form is no more. He remains as an ethereal orb until the end of time, Before leaving to travel through the multiverse, Dr. Gersh provides them with the Casimir mechanism plates and warps them to their next destination, albeit too far in the future. The rest of the Ascension Group, including Dr. Yina, become aware of the outbreak at the Cosmodrome facility, as well as the disappearances of Dr. Gersh and Dr. Zavoyski. Yina, trying to keep everyone calm, suggests that with this setback, as well as the Americans seemingly only getting closer to reaching Griffin Station, that they finally bring the blood they acquired to Siberia in exchange for the Agarthan device, believing that can even the playing field. In a private log, as the Tugaran nears in on the Siberian facility, Yina reveals that he was in fact the mole all along. Once he acquired the Agarthan device, he planned to bring it back to the States, and more specifically his handler, Cornelius Purnell. However, his eagerness to return home Whoa, my accent just showed there. However, his eagerness to return home is cut short as the blood escapes containment, freezing or killing all on board, including Dr. Yina himself, leaving the Tugaran abandoned as it washes ashore in Siberia. With Dr. Gersh gone and Dr. Yina dead, the Ascension Group collapses due to internal fighting and petty power struggles. And that's everything on the Ascension Group, a Russian organization made by an American. Anywho, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.